cooking up some grass-fed Orcas Island Driftwood Ranch beef. Got a piece of flank steak here, and this is just the thin tip of the flank steak. The flank steak is actually quite a big piece off the bottom lower back, the hind section of a cow, the steer, beef animal. And this is just the thin point of it. It's one of the tougher cuts, and a lot of times they recommend you marinate this. Now the thicker end, the piece we don't have, is often was made into traditional London broil, and it's a fantastic cut, and to me it's the only cut worth making London broil out of, where you heat it quickly and intensely and then slice it thinly and leave it very rare with that delicious sauce that goes with London broil. The thin end has same flavor, great flavors. It's made up of muscle that goes in one direction, so it's a little bit stringy, and unless you cut it across the grain, it can be very chewy, what people would associate with being tough. It's all down to how you cook it, and because grass-fed beef has less fat, it needs to be cooked slightly different than conventional grain-fed beef, which means high heat for a very short amount of time, leaving it very rare, or long, slow cooking to really break it down with moist heat. So we're going to cook this flank steak in very high heat. I've got the pan already preheating, so it's really extremely hot. We're going to basically sear this piece of meat very quickly on both sides, give it the very minimum amount of cooking to allow it to develop some nice caramelization and some really great flavors. But I want to leave it rare inside, because that's when it's tender. Now, a lot of people mistake raw and rare. Rare is cooked meat that is still slightly underdone, you might say, on the inside. It's by and large no worries about germs or contamination. You wouldn't want to have a rare hamburger because that's been minced up and all of the microbes and bacteria could be distributed through the ground beef. But in a solid chunk of meat where there's no penetration to the interior of the meat, very little chance of contamination inside, and so rare is perfectly acceptable. It takes a little bit of getting used to. It's not, rare isn't what the French would call blue, which really is raw inside, but it needs to be just kind of blood warm temperature. Rare is slightly hotter than that. And that's really what we're going to do. And the other thing that's essential to cooking beef, and grass-fed beef particularly, is allowing the meat to rest in between cooking and cutting. So I'm going to just simply season this with just a little bit of grapeseed oil, which takes high heat. And I'm just going to really rub it just over both sides. I don't want an excess of oil, and I don't want to put oil in the pan because my pan is extremely hot, and I really just want to give this very high, intense heat for the briefest amount of time. Another point about flank steak particularly, and grass-fed beef in general, is a lot of people recommend marinating tougher cuts of meat. And there's a danger. A little bit of marination for 15-20 minutes, half hour, maybe 2 hours under refrigeration is okay. But with acid marinades, like anything with red wine or lime juice, anything like that, for any length of time, it actually starts cooking the meat. It starts denaturing the proteins in the meat and making it cooked, really. I mean, you can marinate fish in lime juice for half hour and it's cooked. Has the same properties, same texture, same characteristics as being cooked. So acids cook meats. So when a recipe recommends marinating a tough cut of meat that's only going to then be flash cooked or grilled, you've got to reduce the amount of time that you cook it, because you already have to figure it's begun cooking in the marinade somewhat. So then to add additional cooking time could actually end up countering the marinade effect and giving you a tough piece of meat. We're going to throw this on the pan right now. Well, the beef's searing on high heat. I'm going to get started with some vegetables. I've got some bell peppers sliced up here and some onion. I'll start by cooking some onion in a wok, and the bell peppers next. And then I've got some carrots, and we'll add some cucumbers at the very last. As you might be able to already tell, this is a very Thai-inspired dish that we're whipping up together. Now that the beef's been seared for about 5 minutes on one side and 3 minutes on the other side, we're going to let it rest. About 5 or 6 minutes. Let the juices redistribute, come back into where the high intense heat was, and that'll help it not only keep from bleeding out or the juices running out when we cut it, but it'll also help it relax a little bit and be more tender in the long run. Well, the noodles and vegetables finished cooking. I've sliced up my beef, and I've reserved a little bit of the soy, lime, fish sauce, and brown sugar sauce that I whipped up. And I'm just going to toss some of the beef in that. Now, you'll notice that I never seasoned the beef earlier at all. And I didn't marinate it, for that matter. I didn't put any salt or pepper on it. So the fish sauce, the soy, the sugar is all now going to flavor this beef. Don't forget to pour off any juices that ran out of the meat as well. Well, I've tossed the meat in with our other ingredients, and I've got two last additions. I've got some sliced cucumber here that I'm just going to throw in, and I've also got some diced mint, fresh mint. Just going to sprinkle that over. Give it one final mix in. A little too hot for my hands, so I've got some tongs. Just turn it over. And there is a really simple, really fast flank steak, Thai-inspired beef salad of sorts, cooked beef noodle dish. I'm going to get a bowl, and I'm going to ask Dana to come here and have a taste of this. I know you've got to run and catch a ferry back to your own island, but do you like hot sauce?
Sure.
Sure, she says, not knowing what she's got herself in for.
What kind of noodles are those?
These are Thai rice sticks.
Yum.
There you go.
It's nice and rare.
You can add as much rooster sauce as you want.
Mmm. Wow. This looks great. Even for the small end of the flank. Mmm. Mmm. Wow, this is fantastic. One of my favorite cuts of meat.
Glad you came over with it. Well, that's it from Kitchen Studio today. Thanks for watching Gastrocast TV. Please try the recipe. Take care of yourselves. Most of all, keep on cooking.